Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly conversation between an eco-feminist and me. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Magic, the eco-feminist.
The eco-feminist. If you'd told me I was talking to someone who was happy to be described that way on a regular basis, even 10 years ago, I would have been like, come on, that sounds excruciating. But actually, it's fine, it's good, it's important.
Exactly.
We find a light approach to it, so, you should get involved. This week, we're gonna try and do an easier one. We're going to talk about dystopian visions. We're going to find out what Ivanka is so scared of, this climate apocalypse. What are you so scared of?
I haven't pictured it like that. What am I so scared of? Why is it all about my fears?
What is it then?
What am I scared? The things I'm scared of, I don't think are dystopian. When I think of dystopian futures, I think about like mad solutions. What am I scared of? I went jogging this morning and I was running past a giant mansion, and I thought perhaps in this dystopian, not so distant climate crisis future, this person living behind these high walls in this shiny house will be completely different to me, and he will have a special machine that desalinates the water from the sea, and he will have water and he'll be able to grow vegetables in his garden, and he will live and I will be struggling. That's the kind of thing that I'm afraid of.
Right. So the further exaggeration of the wealth gaps and the difference, the differences. I keep wanting to roll my R's like Anne Widdecombe, who no one should emulate in any way. So I'm going to make up a really horrible voice by rolling my R's. Sorry.
That was a bit high pitched. You sounded like a fishwife.
Hashtag references. So yeah, what's the worst that can happen, really? Like if we just didn't do anything, what's Greta worried about? Jeez.
Yeah.
Let's just we're going to just have a talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about robots and stuff. I don't know.
I saw that because there's like alternative versions. I saw this map recently that like if there's a 4-degree increase in temperature, the whole middle of the middle belt of the planet ceases to be arable, serviceable, livable. Yeah. So, and it goes all the way up to and including the parts of the Adriatic where I am now. We'd kind of be borderline. Wow. We might have some goats that can eat off, live off 3 blades of grass type things. That's kind of freaky. And then, the disappearance of the ice caps and everybody bunched up. So, lots of people are going to have to die in order for that to work, or living is going to be like, in the sort of Star Wars movies where everyone's really piled up high, and nobody can walk on grass and hug a tree.
Okay, all right. Well, that's what we've got to look forward to talk about. So. How are you, Ivanka?
I am embracing island life. My sister has been to visit and she has gone, and that was sad, and I cried. And now, but not sad in a like, oh my God, heartbreaky way, but in a, I quite like my sister sort of a way. And, but life's good. Went for a jog this morning, a swim. My front crawl, aka freestyle, is coming on beautifully. I was very pleased with myself this morning because of the inclement summer that we're having, which means that it's not 35, it's more like 29. The sea has been very bumpy, so I've been practicing my freestyle in bumpy sea, but today it was like a lake. It was just beautiful and flat, and therefore my technique wasn't challenged by any waves and being splashed in the face. So I felt on it.
Living the dream.
Indeed.
Swimming,
that's what I was doing.
Boating, catamaraning. I don't know.
I haven't got a catamaran.
surfing.
I'm no good at sailing, but I do I haven't been stand-up paddleboarding this week. For visitors.
Any pithy thoughts?
No, I've also been learning about search engine optimization this week.
Oh, God. Who cares? Jeez. Search engine optimization. I haven't even looked at that yet. I've just been doing an experiment in price optimization. Wonderful. The joys of trying to do this stuff for real.
There you go. That's what I've learned. And how are you, Michael? Do tell. How is your freedom?
And my freedom, I've really been doubling down on. Do you know, done good is just not on my list, but I have every day I'm up to like 40 days of every day doing an hour a day on that video. But this last 2 weeks, I've done like full days in my 3D rendering software, and yesterday I sort of end to end, I have something that's nearly a draft that I can start sharing. Of like, what if we made up this special carbon reward scheme? So that I'm hoping, because I'm going to have next week off. So I'm hoping to have a draft ready today that I can sort of share about. But basically, learning this 3D software and trying to make it do what I want. A lot of that. We've been entertaining Sharon's parents. We had them as guests. That was nice. And we've got a cat friend, like a very beautiful cat that was sitting on our back roof. Yes. Who sort of like we were kind of looking out the window at it and sort of like looking friendly, I think, and then that sort of seemed to give it the confidence to come inside. So the cat sort of like comes in, stalks around, has a look around everywhere, goes up the stairs. You sort of come out the show, it's like, oh, there's a cat in the house. So we were sort of starting to get used to, and then like Sharon's parents as well, we were sort of all sort of enjoying hanging out with the cat a little bit. It was still like, you know, a little bit kind of standoffish, but I managed to sort of trick it into being stroked. It's sort of like left hand distraction, then got you with the right hand. So like we were sort of making friends, and then the other day we were just sort of sat in the kitchen and we heard this retching, gurgling, hacking sound from the rug, and the cat had just basically regurgitated a dead mouse onto our nice rug. And it was like, God, no. So it was this job of now this is going to be dealt with. So it sort of like ran off like with like spit going everywhere. So it managed to like spray all over the kitchen on its way out. And it was like, no, I guess in cat world that is an act of generosity or love or something, but in my world you've just ruined my day. Like, I've got to get the gloves on, I've got to like towels, pick this thing up, put it in the bin and put the bin outside, and Sharon's got to like spray like alcohol over every surface and scrub it, because we are not used to partially digested animal parts in our house, I have to say. And it was just not. So the cat sort of like, it was in the doghouse for a couple of days.
Have you broken up with the cat now?
Well, yeah, but like we're sort of willing to maybe let it back in. It did come back in like yesterday, I think. But come on, cats, come on, animals, please. Can you just be cool and not gross? So that was the highlight of my weekend last week. Yeah, what do you reckon? Have you ever had to do that? Probably.
Oh, yeah, loads.
Yeah, it was my first time, so I know
but I don't like. I'm not very good with any vomit from anything. In our house, there's a clear division. Nick deals with vomit.
So, it's 2040. Climate's gone up by 6 degrees because Donald Trump
No, not
is still president.
Christ. Not sure
Donald
I can handle
Trump
this
and King
conversation.
Jong, they've all kind of teamed up into a sort of super group of evil, and they're
Trump,
just like
Putin, Kim, what's his chops? Who else have we got in the Boris? Is Boris allowed to play with them, or is he just tagging along behind, going?
Boris, I'm evil too. I'm a real twat too. I don't like anyone brown. So that's the state of the world. Everything
You got
has
that
gone
Brazilian
really.
one as well, whatever his name is.
Yeah, all the racists and climate change deniers have taken the key positions, stomped on. Well, but if they, I mean, it's weird. Like if they stomped on global collaboration or they just created a new consensus to just fuck the poor people. So that's happened. So what are we doing? Where are we? Probably moved up to Scotland.
Moved to the Arctic Circle, where we're growing aubergines and mangoes. Well,
it's a blackly humorous episode this week.
Well, I think it's if you take the position of them, all I'm thinking about, is where are we on the, who has funded them, because they themselves are not the billionaires, right? So somebody is, waving the puppet masters. Who are the puppet masters?
Bezos, Gates, Zuckerberg are a triumvirate of, right, we're going to space. Yeah, obviously the Google ones. They've all made their spaceships. They've set up their boring colony in low Earth orbit, where they're just sort of like with like a space mansion. They're in space mansions.
I can't stay too long in the dystopian because I'm always trying to fix it. So it's
we've got to worry about, we've got to do some fear planning. One of the things setting. I worry about in this world where the famous 5 racists are in charge. The billionaires have just excused themselves from the table, made themselves a sort of separate sphere, and they're all hanging out together laughing. And we're down here on planet Earth. They're not laughing. They're earnestly brainstorming ways to really do some good in the world, whilst hoarding all of the
occasionally
wealth and not
dropping
paying any taxes.
Blimps over us with updates to our Kindles or something.
They're doing a lot of good, Ivanka.
They are.
Forget that they've never paid tax since 1992. That's fine. They're doing a lot of good, a lot of philanthropy. Anyway,
they've got the Google balloons giving us free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. We've got free Wi-Fi.
All that stuff. We've got free Wi-Fi everywhere. We've got free updates to our Kindles. We're overwhelmed with Microsoft Surface items everywhere. Everything is a Microsoft Surface. Everything you look at is a Surface, and you can do stuff. But information is therefore being controlled. So one of the things I've been wondering, I sit on my little island and I think, it all goes to shit really quickly, as I've experienced in my life already. It's like, right, how am I going to contact people? The mobile phone network goes down, Wi-Fi goes down. These are all things that are controlled. How do I get out my radio?
Ham radio.
Ham radio. At what point do I need to buy a ham radio and have it in the loft ready to go? CQ, Michael Forrest.
Has someone invented a ham radio internet router? That must exist by now. I know mesh networks and things like that. I think there will be options to communicate off the grid, but in the same way that no one does that now, I don't think there's any reason to think that anyone will suddenly go, I don't want the convenience of Google anymore. I want to have to maintain my own wind-up radio transmitter. I feel like the control is still going to be very much there. And we're just going to be, we'll just be funneled in, like Rushkoff says, we'll just be funneled into the most simple versions of ourselves, most polarised, simple, easily marketable to versions of ourselves. And then maybe there's just like an augmented reality kit that comes with your Facebook that when you look around, nothing's on fire now. You just look around, it's just nice. It's just a nice beach.
Lovely. Oh, wow, that's
and
beautiful.
Some adverts sticking out of the sand wherever you look. But yeah, it's nice actually if you just put the glasses on. Don't take the glasses off. Like children have to be taught from a young age. Don't take the glasses off.
No.
Because we've turned all the horrible things into teddy bears.
All the things, those that can get themselves little contact lenses embedded. So you don't have to take the glass, so they're just there, and your lenses of your eyes have been replaced by Google, whatever those glasses were. Oh, they were Google Glass, weren't they?
Yeah,
Google Glass lenses.
Google Lens.
The middle classes get their children those welded in from birth.
So the middle classes don't really have to experience reality. Right,
they switch off.
So that the ultra wealthy have disappeared off. Middle classes don't really have to. They're sort of like, in the same way everyone's Xanaxed to oblivion and Prozac into oblivion. There's the sort of drug angle, there's the technology angle, and then I don't know, some sort of. How do you kind of like? Are we just all living in big fridges, and then on the end that all the heat is being extracted, and then there's the poverty people that are all living in like 30-degree heat from our waste disposal from our aircon units, and
40-degree,
just basically in little farms or in prison, I suppose. Like I suppose that's you could extrapolate prisons out the way America's going. No, you broke the law. Obviously, there's no systematic or institutional problem behind this. You're just a bad person. So we'll lock you up. We'll have you produce sandwiches for everyone or whatever the hell prisoners produce. And we'll just criminalise poverty even more, maybe. That will deal with the poor people and the people that have an accent.
Going back to your question about where we're living, whatever we're living in, it's got high walls. Everybody's got walls around them because nobody wants to look at any, even with our glasses, the glasses slip. Microsoft Surface sometimes glitches.
Don't get the Microsoft one. You're going to see some horrors. We want high walls around us. So for moments in time, we can pretend that none of it has happened. Well, you want high sort of green screen walls, don't you? Like that can be keyed out by the technology and replaced with something that you want to see in 3D. Yes. Right. So we just have like big. There's green. Well, maybe not green, but like just maybe like magenta. Everything's actually magenta if you take the. So it's like put them back on, and then that's keyed out and turned into dancing elves. And that's fine. I think the ability for the humans to stick their fingers in their ears will not decrease, will it? Like our ability to deny reality will only amplify as things get worse. How are these, at some point, all these sort of refugees we've locked up and criminalised will presumably, get together and realise that there's a lot more of them than us.
Well, we still haven't addressed the question of what we're eating and drinking.
Right.
Because we've got, there's the drug. Somehow someone will always be making some sort of drug so you can knock yourself out, or switch off. But, the basic need of water, coffee will have disappeared.
Coffee will have disappeared. Oh, God.
Coffee will have disappeared. Coffee's already on an endangered list.
Oh no, I did not know this. I just started drinking caffeine again last year. Why did I do this? Now I'm back up to 4 or 5 coffees a day already.
No, coffee's gone, but there's probably some synthetic. And this is
there are synthetic stimulants available.
So we're going to have synthetic versions of all the things we like.
They don't taste of anything.
Yeah, people will be smuggling and walking around going, oi, I've got fresh apples. There'll be those really clever people, selling, that are really good at growing things, that are selling things on street corners, and we're paying extortionate amounts of money for apples and
Maybe it'll be
tomatoes.
criminalised though, like private
Oh,
farming.
well, it will be. It will. But that'll be
you'll
part
realise
of the,
that-
you know, that won't stop it. It'll just be more exclusive and more, because the idea of an allotment will disappear.
Hey, as an aside, Ivanka, we put a, you know, the seed bombs that just didn't really go off particularly. We've got a few spindly little kind of flowers now, but we took the rest of them, and this time we made a little pot, a little kind of like one of those long flower pot. I don't know what you call it, like little trough flower
window
trough
box thing.
Window box, yeah, that's the word. And we sort of dug a little hole for that on the edge of the garden, filled it with some nice compost, and you know, and then just like emptied the seed. It's like just break it and throw it on the ground. That was nonsense. Just empty the seeds out into the soil. So we emptied them out properly and put some water on them, and within like a day they were already sprouting up, and now they're sort of starting to look quite lush. And we also planted some rosemary, but I think our just soil had no nutritional value in it. And I think we just need to be more consistent about watering it. But it's looking good this time round.
Very good.
It's looking crowded.
But that's another point of this whole growing food. You raise a valid point, Michael, on the subject of nutritional value of soil. There are also conversations that say that we've got about 40 harvests left in the...
What?
You wanted a dystopian episode. This is dystopian.
I just saw a website the other day, like in Hacker Newsletter, there's this website which is how much free time do you have? And it says how many hours a week do you work, how many hours a week do you sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then it like gives you it says, oh, well, this is how much time. And then it tells you how much free time you've got for the rest of your life. It's like, oh, you've got 40 days. I'm like, what? No, what? No, don't tell me that. And that's what you just kind of like re-evoked for me there.
It's like, so basically so yes, these are the kind of things. So the soil becomes such that you can't grow in it. The water becomes too polluted to drink. So we're all drinking. We have to drink water through filters. But again, so there's this balance of like. So all those movies that you've ever watched, they're all true.
Has travel been criminal? Has that been made illegal? Because I don't know how else you're going to stop people.
I think
illegal for anyone who's not a billionaire.
Gets rationed. So therefore, you have to apply for a travel license, much as you would have. You know, they'll just bring back some of these things like the Soviet Union used to do, and countries behind the Iron Curtain, and North Korea and China.
What did they do?
Where you have to apply to leave the country.
Right.
So you have to, you know, fill in a form. Where are you going? Why are you going? Oh, you went last year. Who are you visiting? Oh, my mother's ill. My father's... No. Okay, you can have a stamp in your passport. You may leave. And then obviously then there'll be some sort of like black market. There's always going to be a black market trade in something somewhere of someone doing something. And we'll all somehow accept this. I mean, rationing travel wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It depends who's rationing it and why. There was an interesting on the subject of dystopian futures. There was an article I read this week which was about the fact that the United States of America land are refusing to adopt the World Health Organization policy that the whole world has adopted, which recommends that children are breastfed till they're 2. So breastfeeding is loudly and clearly an international policy for how you should, the preferred way of feeding your child, if at all possible. And the United States, because of the formula lobby, are not recommending it. And this is the same country that somehow thinks that restricting people's access to abortion shows how much they care about life. And yet when the life is born, they don't care to recommend the best way of nurturing it.
They will do anything they can
to make money.
Make it bad.
So if those people are in charge of our travel rationing, it won't be to reduce carbon. It will be, you know, the few people that do travel will travel by rocket fuel. So it'll be like burn, big lots of carbon. You'll be flying. So unless, of course, somebody by then, 2040, is that too soon? we far enough in the
That's what we're
future
saying.
to think
Well,
about like,
as soon as you go like 20 years, it's like some stuff's always 20 years away, so you might as well just say 20 years.
What I was thinking about was teleporting.
Yeah, no.
I want to. Can't we do that? Does that have a high carbon footprint?
I think I like faster than light travel is just prescribed by physics. Because if you're going faster than light, you're going back in time, and then everything's going to go wrong.
Is teleporting faster than light?
So if you, and then I suppose transmitting yourself at the speed of light sort of implies that you're going to destroy the original body, and like I'm not sure how much I want to do that. Like maybe just let me, possess a host bot at the other end and walk around in that, and then there's a lot of things, but we're not trying to. So. Instead of travelling, everyone's in these wheelie bot things with an iPad for a face. Going, hi, I'm just here for the meeting. Yes. Oh, hold on a minute. Just got to have my lunch.
What? Which raises a valid point, which is what are we doing for work?
Oh, all the most meaningful. This is Black Mirror, episode 88. No, this is Dystopian Visions. So everything that's bad about work right now is presumably, 20 years worse. So nobody has a job with any meaning whatsoever. Like, basically, it's like all jobs are completely meaningless computer games. So it's like your job is just like bang this button that doesn't do anything, like 8 hours a day, and we will be monitoring whether you're pressing the button the whole time. Just keep hitting this button, and then you will get like the minimum possible amount of credits that is, we can get away with giving you. Just keep pressing the button. It doesn't do anything. And that's just like an extrapolation of a lot of jobs now, isn't it?
It is,
like, just do this completely meaningless thing that doesn't need to be done. And but actually, that's the middle management jobs.
Somebody's going to be making all these things we're looking at on our Microsoft Surfaces.
No, well, they'll just be AI. That'll be generated by the machines, and it will all be very well. Maybe it'll actually be really good. Like Netflix pioneered the AI machine learning shooting acting revolution. So now they just kind of like go, the AI goes, well, here's 20 different options. The one guy left at Netflix. Well, no, there's loads of people maintaining the machines and the software, but it goes, okay, we'll have this 6. The AI goes off, simulates it, like writes it, simulates it, films it, does it. It's really good. Like,
yeah,
and we just kind of like we can just endlessly distract ourselves. Like we had a bad weekend a couple of weeks ago when we'd sort of run out of things to watch. It was like, oh, and then Stranger Things, woo, yes, and then that's kind of that kind of got us through that week, and then this week it's like Queer Eye season 4, woohoo! So it's like, yes, I don't have to think about reality for a few more days. Yeah, we're kind of like we're there, but there's still human labour and creativity, and unfortunately, these people, like loads of stuff that's created is pretty bad, but now. Then when the AI can just personalise your own TV series that are exactly the sort of thing you like, then, there'll just be no limit. You'll never have to sort of look up and see the magenta walls of your... We'll just be able to live in smaller and smaller pods. Well, maybe it's going to be sort of like Japan, like pods, pod living. Houses will get smaller and smaller so that it's just like there's a toilet at one end of the room, or just the toilet's integrated into the thing, because you don't need any pride now. We don't need to. But no, we will live in individual pods with a toilet on one end and like a little kind of food replicator at the other. Maybe this is 2050. We won't actually leave the pod to socialise or see our loved ones or partners. They'll be just in some other pod somewhere in the world, and we'll have this sort of like virtual loving relationship that can maybe like do a bit of, if you need to reproduce, you can, but it's via sort of like genetically, it's just determined by the machine, and then that sort of delivers it to the other end, and like everything, you just live in your little pod and don't take the things off. and just see everyone virtually, and like just stay on the social media, stay on the things, just don't leave the pod, or if you, and then that's fine. We just need to everyone just stay in their pod.
But why do the billionaires still need us around in our pods? What's the point of us?
Well, it's our attention. Well, if the situation now is that our attention is what makes them money.
Oh, yeah. But,
we're looking at this. That means they can sell space on it. Like that's the economy. That's the digital economy. So they just want us spending more and more of our life looking at a surface that they can sell. So, I mean, in that sense, it's kind of like the Matrix, isn't it? Like we are batteries for their arbitrary number, spaceship building money, space mansion maintenance money. It's not even money. It's just like, oh, well, Bill Gates. Oh, well, I got another billion. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it, Bill. Now I got to get another 2 billion. Hey, I got another 2 billion. And meanwhile, we're just sort of rotting away on Earth as we every last grain morsel of humanity is drained from us through 24/7 banner adverts.
And clickbait
articles.
Oh my God, that are also generated by AI. Oh my God, I don't think I can hang out in this dystopian future for much longer.
There aren't even no human intervention in the creation of the content. It's just an extrapolation. Have you seen those YouTube videos that are sort of like machine generated that have all got like Spider-Man in them? Like this weird like poorly rendered, like Spider-Man fights Batman in a get-rich-quick scheme for lose weight now. Or like, I don't know, every single clickbait term. Here's a weird trick for defeating Spider-Man and losing weight at the same time. So all content will no original content will exist. It will just be micro mashups of existing properties. The Disney Corporation will control all of this. Maybe Netflix, but probably Disney will have kind of subsumed Netflix by that point, or the other way around. There'll be one company in charge of all entertainment, and that will be because they own the rights to every single bit of intellectual property. Everything will be a mashup of everything from all the comic books, all the other types of content media, into a sort of ever more diluted stream of, hey, I recognise that name. Hey, I recognise that franchise. Hey, I've heard of that. Oh, I've heard of that. I want to lose weight. Oh, I've heard of that. I'd like to live in a space station. I've heard of that. So that's us in our sort of Black Mirror bubble. It's like this criminalisation of poverty is like, we're going to be looking for people to blame for it, and we're, that's in this dystopian vision. Yeah, it's just going to be, it's their fault, so we have to mulch them into compost.
There's the other thing that comes to mind, having listened to the Rushkoff thing, is this idea that this whole, where the billionaires have got, whether he seriously got asked whether electric collars would control the guards when money ceased to have value. And then the other little story connected to that is the idea that the billionaires have a virus and the antidote. So, one way to save the world is to just kill billions of us.
Right. Okay. Yeah, like Thanos style.
So we're going, right.
Click the finger click. We're going to destroy half of the population.
Half the population is gone. So that immediately reduces the carbon footprint of the planet. It's like...
do you think like how long, as Philip K. Dick says, like reality is what if you stop believing in it doesn't go away. How long can the climate change deniers hold on to hold on to the lie? How long can they hold on to this lie?
I genuinely don't know, because anybody that lives, it's very easy to ignore climate change, I think, or much, much easier if you live in an urban setting. But if you live in a rural setting, and I don't know what the population shift is, it's like one thing that I don't encounter on the Balkans, regardless of all their mad ideas about the world, is everybody is very well aware that the climate is not what it used to be. That that things are shifting, that it is hotter, that it's less predictable, that they've had more storms, that crops have failed, things don't grow. Oh, and there's this massive drive without this middle class bio-organic bullshit. It's more like everyone going, oh, here's some cherries. Don't worry, I haven't sprayed the tree with anything. There's a sort of a currency of unpolluted food that's just in this rural setting floating around and has value because people recognise that something's not like it should be. And so I think, so even when you're sitting there and talking to them about, these can be extremely right-wing opinionated people, but this climate thing is just, to them, it's like, hang on a minute. It's like my cousin was visiting me in Brighton last year in November, and it is on podcast that my strawberries had flowers and strawberries on them in November, and she was like, why can't Trump just look out of the window and see that it's fucked? And it's like, I was like, because his window is kind of very protected. He's got a Microsoft Surface over the top of his window.
Well, he's surrounded with gold, so all he can see is
he's consuming the world through his Twitter feed. But I don't know how long that they can deny it, unless they, it's like... the control of the media is quite interesting, because what we're not seeing as mainline news at the moment or main headline news is the number of people that have been killed in Bangladesh. Is it now this week? See, even I'm losing the plot. I think 1 million people have been displaced because of floods, and at least 90 have been killed. A million people. And it's not on our news. It's not on what's on our news feed is some Brexit bullshit. You know what I mean? Nigel Farage had a pint in a pub and had a fag. It's like, so I don't know at what point the bubble bursts on the distraction. That's what I don't know. And I think while they can maintain the news...
Yeah, well, what is what I'm sort of doubling down on dystopia-wise is it's like what we've seen in the last few years is how amazing people's ability to keep their fingers in their ears really is. Like, if you're going to get religious about something, if you're going to get sort of fanatical about your opinions and be able to kind of keep yourself in your own bubble, it's absolutely incredible how much people are capable of ignoring and sort of explaining away, or just not, or do they not see it? It's like the cognitive dissonance people are capable of living with is quite incredible. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's always been a feature of religion, cognitive, Catholicism is mental. I've got to kind of believe a lot of conflicting things at the same time in order to buy into this. But okay, I guess everyone else is.
But I mean, I firmly, again, sometimes I feel like I'm turning into sort of conspiracy theorist father person. But it's like, if religion was the opium of the people and controlled people for hundreds of years, thousands of years, but hundreds in a sort of Catholic organised Vatican-y way. Yeah. This new religion is reality TV, bullshit telly programmes, bullshit jobs, adverts, buy, consumerism. It's just a new distraction.
Capitalism is this weird religion that people don't seem to realise is not how things have to be necessarily. And
it's quite funny around here as well when people go, yeah, but why is it like that? And I was like, welcome to capitalism, people. It's like, this is what you wrote, this is what you wanted, this is what it is. That's what it looks like.
It does get you shiny things. It does get you some choices. You can have a lot of different crackers to choose from and be annoyed when the one you want isn't there. I've been going into the shop going, I want my rosemary crackers. where are the rosemary ones? It's very important to me that I have my rosemary crackers. Like, this is now, this is the benefit. But the other side of it is, oh, God, it doesn't care about us. We are just chattel to its grinder. Should we talk about robots?
Yeah, robots.
So here's so what the robots won't do. Like, I saw this YouTube video the other day of a Boston Dynamics robot. You know, they always have the testing and someone's shoving it and it's sort of like straightening itself. And they had this little YouTube short where the guy shoves the video and shoves the robot, and then the robot goes, "What?" And like the robot sort of like punches him in the face or whatever. It does what a person would do if you did that to him. And they was like, "Hey, yeah, what a funny video." And I was like, "Well,
hang on.
What? Because what is so strange about those robots, those Boston Dynamics robots, and the way you can treat them? What is so strange about them is that they have not, like any other living creature on this planet, one of the earliest things it learns is fight or flight, like how to survive, how to like defend itself. That's just like baked in on a genetic level over many, many iterations. And it's one of the things that you can't really take out of the mix and still have a viable life form. What these Boston Dynamics robots, they're not programmed. They don't need to be programmed with a survival instinct.
No.
Because there's no evolutionary... They have no survival instinct. It's not going to evolve in them because we control their evolution. So either the robots are going to be poorly put together and malfunction in a way that is very easy to happen and can chop a man in half with no problem. Like that's one way in which we'll be destroyed by the robots. But the Terminator thing, without someone physically going, right, we're programming these to be violent psychopaths now for some reason. Like some force or agent would have to actively decide to program these robots to be violent psychopaths.
But why wouldn't you if you're trying to create a weapon? A weapon robot.
So yes, weapon robots, or is that sort of conscious AI thing, if maybe that, if that takes the reins and has access to all of our private emails and can sort of very quickly form an opinion of our deepest, darkest behavioural patterns. I find the, humans are too dangerous to be allowed to survive, sort of Hollywood cliche, a bit worn out at this point. So how are robots going to be involved in this this horrible future that's a bit more realistic? With climate change, what are the robots going to... Is national defence going to stay? Like, is America just going to keep spending more and more money?
There's going to be less habitable Earth to occupy. So
it's defending the land from... Yeah. So people are going to be killed by their sentry robots all the time.
Yeah.
Their own sentry robots.
And they're going to have, they definitely will have to expand in some direction. If the if this kind of, all the question that keeps, it's like on a ticker tape in my brain at the moment, is like, what purpose would we serve? Like, why would the robots keep, like, what's the point of us? Like, if, in this robot future, even with the billionaires, like, how many of us do they need to leave alive or bother to leave alive? What's the point? It's like, if you one of the parts of Hitler's ambitions that I'm aware of through, I can't remember where I read it or whatever, but I think his idea was to leave 1 million Slavs alive to be slaves.
Right.
That was one of... So all these, his extermination camps, his idea was, kill all these millions of Slavs, leave 1 million because they're quite useful to do work. But in a robot scenario, you don't need, these lumbering Slavs to dig your earth. You can get a robot to do that.
So we're going to be incentivized. People are going to be, okay, right. So these human bodies that have very sort of awkward requirements from the climate. Yeah. Let's face it. We have a sort of narrow operating range. We have sort of like certain things. We have ways that we can get energy, and that's quite awkward and time consuming. We are sold on like, I don't know, maybe it's Boston Dynamics, maybe it's, who is it? But it's like, okay, like transcend your human form. and you can, live as a robot now. We're just going to get your brain, we're going to put your consciousness in the robot, and you live as a robot, and then you can just be out in the, in the sort of the fiery landscape, and you'll be all right. There'll be like a commercial pressure for more and more people to sort of jump into these robots, and it's going to be the middle class, I guess. All get turned into robots, bodies turned into compost, but like we just charge ourselves from, like, since it doesn't matter that the air is breathable anymore, as long as you can get some oxygen, because you do need that for the chemical, to sort of generate energy one way or another. We just like phase out human bodies and just like translate into these sort of like probably slightly better versions of people, and then like the poor people will then just they'll have no chance, because we'll be like, well, it's 10 degrees hot, but we don't care because we've got robot bodies. Yeah,
I just don't know at what point you are still you, because I've had this conversation in the context of everything we know about physics and how everything works, trying to explain what makes you a person, where all you are is just a sort of collection of atoms. Like, to explain it without using the words magic or religion are actually quite hard. So
I don't think it's that hard. You use the word software.
Okay,
that's Daniel Dennett's. That's the crux of Daniel Dennett's explanation. Is like, we're very sophisticated software, and then we have a frame of reference for how software gets built and how it gets complex.
But in that, there's still no like. In this, okay, we're software and we learn from our environment. We are who we are because of the shape of the body our software grew in and developed in, and our sensors and our experience and our contact with Earth, our contact with nature. Like, what do we become?
We're evolved,
and does it matter?
You've talked about before, we're evolved to the vulnerabilities of our particular fleshy form.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you sort of take that away, then like a lot of our fears are irrelevant now, and we become something different. So are we still human? I don't know. We don't know. We watch some manga, watch Ghost in the Shell, like. The AI takes the robot body, and the sort of scientist or military person goes, how can you prove to me that you're conscious, that you're alive? And the machine goes, well, can you prove to me that you're conscious and aware? And you sort of go, snap! Oh no, he didn't.
I think what I would like to conclude on this, post this discussion of dystopian futures.
You're looking forward to it.
Is that whatever you do, keep investing in the free press and investing in supporting things like Extinction Rebellion, because something has got to change. There needs to be, on the subject of how long can climate deniers deny climate change, is for as long as we let them.
Yeah, how long can capitalism in its current form be allowed to continue? Because that's the problem. Growth, everything's got to grow. I heard it described, was it Russell Brand talking to Pete Holmes, which I was like, ooh, fun. Saying like, it's like all it does is breathes in, it inhales but never exhales. So like, what would it look like if you just showed something going... just in never breathing out again. This is our current norm, and that's the thing that we've got to change first.
I think on the subject of Russell Brand, I listened to him interviewing Brené Brown.
Right.
The vulnerability and shame lady, and I always love listening to her. And she was I only got halfway through the episode, but one of the things she was talking about, because they were talking about the context of things like this pro-lifey nonsense in America, and this, she was like, and I have said this before to another friend of mine, which is like, I feel like these are the sort of like the death throes of the white male patriarchy. I really do. They're sort of going, we're under attack. Fight the women, fight the breastfeeders, fight the newspaper. No, we can't have organic farming. No, we can't have. No, there is no climate
Maintain control.
We've got
at all costs.
and I think that it is slipping away from them. I have to believe that anyway, but I do. But I think it only continues to slip away if we keep fighting, if we keep resisting, if we keep questioning, if we keep. So that's my...
Just like, I mean, this is an analogy that will only help me, but like, you know, the I don't know, Wikipedia doesn't just magically have good information in it overall. It's a constant fight. Like there's people putting out all day, every day, working hard, researching, putting stuff in there, policing it. And just in the same way, like a website doesn't just stay up. No, unless it's one of mine. No, but I put it on a service. I put it on a service where someone else does this. But like, if there's not someone intervening at all times, it's not going to work anymore. And just like, obviously, like nothing's going to happen. You have to keep working, or but everything needs work. Anyway,
great.
Yeah, that was I'll snip that off.
What are you going to snip? What are you going to snip off?
What I just said, it was rubbish.
No, I don't think it was. I think you're right. I think this is the thing. Everyone is waiting.
I think you said it concisely first.
Okay, but I think everybody.
I did nothing.
My whole thing where I pick up rubbish all the time.
Yeah.
And you walk past people, and they're like, "Well, why are you picking up the rubbish?" Because it's the job of the litter pickers to pick up the rubbish. I was like, well, why wouldn't I? My analogies go nowhere either, but it's like it's that sort of. But I think your Wikipedia one is a good one. I don't think you need to kill it.
So we've got to keep working if we don't want this to happen. We've got to keep talking about
Chipping away.
We've got to do this podcast so that we'll have ideas. And I actually think the thing I want to I was talking about a price of poverty explainer thing, but I think really a why is capitalism bad explainer would actually be really useful for people. So that's what I'm going to try and work on, I think.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com, where you can hit the orange subscribe button if it's not obvious how to subscribe from the app in which you are currently listening to this. Where can people find you, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
You can find me at michaelforestmusic.com and on YouTube /user/Michael Forest, etc. I've been doing a bit of streaming, a bit of little random videos that only mainly seem to be reducing my subscribers, so whatever. What else can people do for the podcast?
People can write us ratings and reviews, tell their friends, all of that little thing, all of those little acts of starring helps.
Yes, thank you.
You let the algorithms know that we're worth pushing.
Machine overlords. Machine overlords will know what to do because they're not smart. No. They're not listening to it. They're just going, oh, this has got more stars. We've also got Patreon. You can be the third. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Annette. She's not technically a Patreon, but we'll give her a free 2 years. If you want to be on the Patreon, just it's like $1 a month, and it just makes us feel better, doesn't it? And then that's it. There's a PayPal thing in the description as well. So thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.